Good afternoon, gentlemen. It's been a while since we've visited each other, hasn't it? Yes, I'm still working on that H89, or more accurately, I finally got back into it, because the bench was covered with unrelated shit, and I head scratched, and I nose picked, and I head scratched, and I nose picked, and transistors kept blowing out. I did finally get the 53 volt rail working. There is an emitter collector here with Q202, and I didn't have a replacement transistor for that, so I just replaced the one on the other side. But that transistor was the one that was bad, and it blew out that one again. So when I replaced that one, I didn't think to check that one again, so I thought something was still fucked up and went around and around and around until I replaced both of them at the same time, and that got that working. Very stupid of me, but that's par for the course for me. But then after Mr. Beefy, what are you doing? Getting up on my lap. After getting the 53 volt rail working right, it started. I replaced this transistor. We'll look at it in a second. I replaced this transistor because it tested bad, and then it started smoking this resistor right here beside of this coil. And I thought it was the coil because I couldn't figure out what the hell else it could be. See, it would smoke this resistor and blow up this transistor, and then I'd replace both of them, and it would do it again. So I pulled components. Lifted legs on resistors and shit, trying to figure out what the problem was, and tested capacitors and all kinds of crap. And I started thinking it was this transformer. So I pulled the transformer out of one of the working H19s and measured impedances on both coils, and they tested the same. So I was like, what the fuck? And then finally, I was just farting around, getting mad, and discovered that as I tightened the screw through this transistor right here, it used to be mounted on this heatsink here, just like all the rest of these. But the tighter I tightened this screw, the more the resistance between the 53 volt rail and ground diminished. So it turned out that there was this little fucking insulator. I may have gotten angry and pitched it already. I put it somewhere. Anyway, just a little tiny plastic tube that goes over the screw threads to keep, because that's the collector. The screw that goes through is connected to the collector, and we don't want that grounded to this heatsink. So there's a little insulator that goes through the hole in the transistor and through the hole in the heatsink, and it had a crack in it, and I couldn't see that crack. Because it was covered with heatsink compound. But I was like, what's going on here? So I cleaned it all up and finally figured out that that's what it was. And so, of course, I don't have any tubing that size. So I ended up just peeling the transistor off and pushing it back and sticking a stick-on heatsink to it, like you'd put on like a Raspberry Pi that you were overclocking. And the power on tests pass now, and nothing catches on fire. So, what a pain in the ass. Good grief. So I'm going to put it back together and see what happens. My recollection is that I was getting one beep, but not two beeps out of this thing when we were trying to test it before with no video. Which leads me to believe... Oh, it's too far out. Leads me to believe that the terminal board is actually working, but the actual H89 CPU board is not. But let me put this thing back together and see if we get some video anyway. If I can even remember how the damn thing goes back together. It has been so long. It's back together, and I still don't have, any filament voltage, which that runs off of the flyback May mean I'm not getting any horizontal sync from the terminal board. I don't know. I need to check that out. But the power on tests on this little video driver circuit board, you can see it down here. That thing. The 53 volt rail on it is also fucked up, so I'm gonna have to take it back out of there and fix it before I continue, I think. So anyway, I'm gonna do that some other day. There's something very exciting supposed to get here. Oh, excuse me. It's supposed to get here tomorrow, so this will probably go away for a little bit and we'll get back into it later. Alright. See ya.